Hey everyone, my name is Larissa and today we will be reviewing AICE International History Chapter 3.3. Let's get right into it. Chapter 3.3. There's like a yacht outside my house and it's so loud. And I'm not on the 20th floor. I don't know why I can hear it so clearly. If you hear it in the background, I'm sorry. Chapter 3.3 is about why and with what effects did Britain and France pursue a policy of appeasement. First, let's discuss impact of economic and military considerations for foreign policy. The League of Nations had clearly failed to deal with aggression in Manchuria and Abyssinia, and this failure to take action became known as appeasement. During the 1930s, Britain and France continued this policy, which played a major role in allowing aggression to continue. Although it is very easy to criticize appeasement now, at the time, there were strong reasons why it seemed like the best option. One of the main reasons was economic. Public opinion in both Britain and France was strongly against another war. People did not want to repeat the destruction of World War I, and new technology made it clear that future wars would be even more dangerous, especially with the bombing of cities like what had already been seen in Spain. At the same time, both countries were dealing with the effects of the Great Depression. They could not afford the cost of preparing for war. They also depended on international trade, so they wanted to avoid any action that could damage economic relations. This helps explain why they did not act strongly against Japan and Manchuria. Imposing sanctions could hurt their own economies, and there was also fear that Japan might attack British territory like Hong Kong or Singapore. As a result, Britain and France put their own interests above the commitment to the League. The same thing happened with Italy's invasion of Abyssinia. Britain and France saw Mussolini as an important ally against Hitler, so they were unwilling to take strong action against him. On screen, I have summarized the most important key points of this section, so if you want to take a pause and look at them, it's what I had just discussed. Military reasons were also very important. Both countries were focused on defense rather than attack. France built the Maginot? I don't know. Line to protect itself, and Britain's military was already spread across its empire. Britain had also followed the 10-year rule, assuming there would not be a major war soon, so it was completely unprepared. Because of this, neither country was in a position to take military action. Helping China, defending Abyssinia, or stopping Germany would all require large and expensive military campaigns. There was also the risk that war with Germany could involve Italy and Japan as well, so no country was willing to participate in a large war. Another key reason for appeasement was the fear of communism. Many politicians in Britain and France believed that the Soviet Union was the biggest threat, not Germany. They saw Hitler as a possible barrier against the spread of communism. Even though relations with the USSR improved slightly after 1934, there was still a lot of mistrust. Britain refused to form a full alliance, and both countries remained suspicious of Soviet intentions. Again, I have summarized everything I just discussed on screen. If you want to take a pause or a screenshot or take notes, it's right there. Next, let's discuss changing nature of relations with the USSR and impact of foreign policy. This section can be very wordy, so I summarized the most important points on screen. Appeasement is most clearly seen in how Britain and France supported to Hitler's actions. By 1938, oh my god, I can't do this. Hitler had weakened the relationship between Britain and France. For example, during the disarmament conference, he convinced many British politicians that Germany was being treated unfairly. The Anglo-German naval agreement also showed that Britain was willing to cooperate with Germany, which angered France very much. Many British politicians believed that the Treaty of Versailles had been too harsh and that Hitler was simply correcting its mistakes. Hitler also presented himself as a peaceful leader, signing agreements like the Non-Aggression Pact with Poland in 1934. Because of this, many people believed that once Germany's grievances were addressed, Hitler would stop. Let's discuss attitudes towards rearmament. The Stresa Front was meant to stop Germany from rearming, but it failed very quickly. Britain undermined it by signing the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, allowing Germany to expand its navy. From France's point of view, this was betrayal. It showed that Britain was more concerned with its own interest in stopping Germany. Another key example of this is in the Rhineland in 1936. Hitler sent troops into the Rhineland, breaking the Treaty of Versailles. This was a major risk, since his army was not strong enough to fight a war at that point. However, Britain and France did absolutely nothing, which is a common theme. France was dealing with economic and political problems and could not afford military action. Britain did not see it as a serious issue in the slightest, since Germany was entering its own territory. British politicians also believed negotiation was very much better than conflict. Because of this, the League could not take action. This is very important because it showed Hitler that he could do what he wanted and act however he wanted to without being stopped. The same pattern continued in Anschluss in 1938. Germany took control of Austria, which was clearly against the treaties. However, Britain and France, again, did nothing. France was politically unstable and unwilling to act without British support. Britain under Chamberlain believed it's Britain under Chamberlain believed in appeasement and preferred negotiation. Public opinion also supported avoiding war. As a result, Germany was able to expand without any resistance. Next, let's discuss Czechoslovakia and the Munich crisis. Appeasement reached its absolute peak during the Munich crisis. Hitler demanded the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia, claiming to support German-speaking people. Losing this region would make Czechoslovakia weak and completely defenseless. At the Munich conference, Britain and France agreed to Hitler's demands without consulting Czechoslovakia at all. They believed this would prevent war. Chamberlain believed he had secured peace and famously claimed it was peace for our time. However, not everyone agreed. Winston Churchill argued that this was a failure and that Hitler could not be trusted. He was correct. The agreement weakened Czechoslovakia and left it vulnerable. It also damaged relations with the USSR, which had not been included in the decision. Thank you for watching. This does not conclude our summary. Which factor best explains why Britain and France followed a policy of appeasement in the 1930s? Desire to repeat the First World War? Support for Hitler's expansion? Economic effects of the Great Depression and fear of war? And strong military readiness for war. Economic effects of Great Depression and fear of war. I'm glad you got that correct. You got that correct, right? Right. Thank you for watching. This does conclude, finally, our summary of Chapter 3.3 for AICE International History. I wish you the best of luck with all your studies. Bye-bye.